I've revealed it now. Well, Rob, what can I say about this tractor? Now, it's a Fordson, obviously, because it's got a green Fordson badge on the front of it. Now, how did you get hold of it? Tell me the history. And it's a very, very, very rare tractor.
It is indeed.
So please. And it's got the wartime lights on the front of it or something, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Part of the stuff that I did to it before. So I bought this one. Bit of an accidental buy. Bought it from a friend who, I just managed to ask the question, and he decided to sell it to me, having a new house built and all the rest of it. So this was let go. Luckily for me, as I explained in the first video that we did when we were sitting out the back, I like crawlers, and I like petrol crawlers that you have to fight into life and listen to and become a bit of a part of to run. I also like Fordson standards. So this kind of really covers every one of those bases, and as it's probably, I would say, one of my most favourite tractors, just because of what it is.
Oh, I bet.
The actual tractor itself, 1941 Fordson Standard roadless is its proper name. They were built and converted by the roadless traction company. I can't go into all the details because I can't without reading it and getting back to you. But they developed this track system not long after the First World War, and looking at the effects that the tracks had on the First World War tanks and how they were to travel over the ground, and how they were able to go over a lot more rough stuff than a wheeled implement would be. So the guy came away from the First World War, and like I say, look him up. I don't know his name and all the rest of it off the top of my head. I've got all the information inside, but he developed this track mechanism and started a company called Roadless, and they did these track conversions.
So it bought a skid unit from the factory, the full top, the what have we got? The engine, the gearbox, and the rear axle.
Yeah. So as it stands as a tractor, it's based on an industrial Fordson. So you had the agricultural one, and then they did an industrial version. The industrial one often would have like harder, solid wheels, brakes, and bits and pieces. But the transmission was different geared, and as you come around to the back of it, the seating position is different, and the dashboard is different because they had electric lights on them, whereas the agricultural ones didn't. So you have some slight differences for the ammeter up there. But they bought a industrial tractor, and this was done for the RAF. This is developed for them.
Oh, really?
So it's an RAF machine, and then they put on their track. So they took off the front axle, the rear trumpet housings where the drive comes out onto the sprockets. They were remanufactured. They're actually in upside down on this to accommodate some of the other bits and pieces. But they tweaked what they had. The gearbox is an industrial gearbox, but then it has a different ratio inside. They sort of really made a bit of a mix-up of the tractor to work with the track system.
Now you might think I'm not talking, but I'm just blown away, and I'm lost for words. And it's unlike me, Rob, being lost for words, because I just can't. You're telling me everything about this, but I'm just sort of looking at it and thinking, I can't ask any questions.
Yeah, because they're quite obscure machines, I suppose. You don't see them so much, and there's a lot of history which goes behind them. That's what I'm quite.
So it starts on petrol, does it?
Yep. So standard Fordson, literally standard Fordson N.
And a wind-up jobby on the front.
Yep. Hand start on petrol, warm it up, vaporiser on the other side. TVO. It runs on TVO, tractor vaporising oil, which was an English fuel, not like the American kerosene.
Now, how did you get your tractor? Because it's like rocking horse thingy, what's it now, isn't it? I've got a tractor that runs on it.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky enough, I still got some left of a 45 gallon drum I bought years ago.
Yeah, well they because you're mixing rebated fuels and the taxation is different, they couldn't put them together. Because the petrol, I think the tax on petrol is different to the tax on kerosene, which is the base product. And then, I don't know.
Do you make your own? Or?
I make my own. Yeah, I've got the recipe from a manufacturer.
Would you share that with me?
Of course you can have it. Yeah, it works perfectly. It's very easy to make.
Is it? It's because some people said you'd mix 2-stroke and a little bit of heating oil and a little bit of this to it. And
base product is kerosene. And then there's diesel, unleaded. And you can put like a shot of Red X into it.
Red X? Now that's a shot from the past, isn't it?
Yeah, Red X, or just to give it a bit.
And you can still get Red X? Really? Because I mean, when I was my first car, I used to go to a petrol garage and they'd say, "Do you want a squirt of how many gallons would you like?" And how many squirts of Reddix? And you think, but you don't hear of that no more.
Well, if you want it to smell nice, a bit of Castor does the same thing.
Really?
It's an upper cylinder lubricant for the valves and that. But yeah, I mean that you can make it. I'll give you the recipe for it.
Fantastic.
It works fine on this. Absolutely works fine.
Right. So now we're moving on to, because I noticed the sprocket on the front of these. They've got a weird sprocket, drive sprocket. Is it a drive sprocket on them?
No. So you've got an idler on the front.
Idler on the front.
That just guides the track around, and then you've got 1, 2, 3 track frame rollers, which support the weight of the vehicle in the middle.
Yep.
And then you've got the drive sprocket at the back here.
Now, to me, that just looks like a Fordson wheel without the rim on the end of it and the tyre.
Yeah, it is roadless. So that bit there is Fordson. There's 2 big brakes in here. This is the difference between this and a normal crawler, because it's conversion. So you've got the differential in the middle, which allowed for dissimilar speed within the wheels. Then what they did was they left that all in there, and they just fitted it with 2 big drum brake, drum brakes, which are on the inside of the back of this. And as you pull the lever, it literally just puts the brake on. And you can kind of see how big the brake
I can
is.
see that now.
See it in here?
Yeah.
So it's a huge brake, and it activates it, and it just steers.
And it stops one track.
Yeah, you slow one track down, but because it's got a differential in the middle, it has the opposite effect on the other side. For what you slow down this, it speeds up on there, so it can turn, if you don't know what you're doing with it, a little bit snappy. And the other thing as well, when you're tracking across a field, it likes to wander on something that's a bit soft, or it's a bit, because it can do that. Whereas a normal crawler is direct drive, like the one behind it, the Alice.
Yeah.
With direct drive, those tracks are going at the same speed.
Basically, a welded up differential, isn't it? Really.
Well, it is still like you could put a set of wheels on it, and it would still drive like that. You know, if you converted it back, if you wanted.
I mean, the tracks they're substantial, aren't they? They're not like they make today's.
So these grousers here are rubber mounted inside here, and this is what's unique to these type of tracks from roadless, is they've got a rubber block in here which separates this. So I can move it. From the actual chain itself. So you get a softened sprung effect. Not much for suspension wise, but certainly the shock of it going over, harder ground.
Yeah.
And then these holes here, you could put a attachment in there, like extra blades or flat shoes, and you put them in
for more grip.
Yeah, you can put different things. This is a standard track, but if you look in there, they've got a little cutout, so you put it down, quarter turn, and it would be held out like that.
What foresight, eh? What foresight, isn't it, eh?
But like I mentioned, these were built for the RAF, and they were built for pulling aeroplanes that crashed off the end of runways into the soft stuff. Because it had tracks, you could get the traction down. It didn't crush the ground and muck it up, and you could pull things around. They did a half-track version of this as well. There's one up at Duxford in the Imperial War Museum up there, which has the wheels on the front, still has the steering wheels. The tracks are slightly smaller, look the same, but it has a really big winch on the front, and they were for the same pulling things out. And then after the war, they were also converted for agricultural use, because you could put more traction down through a track than you can through a wheel, and it doesn't damage the soil.
That's what I find great, because obviously after the war we used Sherman tanks with the lids cut off them, didn't we?
Yeah,
for ploughing and one thing. And I mean, this would make a perfect plough puller, really, wouldn't it? Because the torque and the track wise, you can plough in the winter time when the ground's really soft, turn it over, cultivate, seed drill it and everything, and
it gives the impression that you've got more power when you haven't. You've got the same engine, it's just able to put it down on the floor, to get it down. So there's a difference between a 2-furrow.
It walks rather than rolls.
Yeah, you can pull a 3-furrow, not a 2-furrow. So they were, but then obviously you can't use them on the road so well.
No,
and that's the problem. So there's swings and roundabouts.
Yeah,
it has no pulley drive on the other side. Where you could use the flat belt. It doesn't have that.
Now I've seen people start Fordson, standard Fordson, and it's literally just a click over.
Yeah.
I look at the old dumpers we was talking earlier about, and you wind them for about 10 minutes, and then you might get a thump out of them.
Yeah.
But these tend to not to do that, don't they? They just tend to sort of like click over and fire straight away.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, like I say, you start it on petrol, like you said. The magneto has an impulse here and there, so even if you turn it over very slow, spring stores it up, and then all of a sudden lets the magneto go, whack, over it goes. It fires at more or less top dead centre, so it doesn't kick at you. It still will if you don't do it properly. And then once it's up to running speed, the impulse switches off and the magneto goes back into normal operating mode.
Fantastic. Now, I mean, looking at the engine, they had proper cast jobbies back in the day, didn't they? There was no messing about with scrimping on steel, wasn't it, back in those days? It was proper mined stuff, not like the recycled engine blocks we've got now, which go porous after a year or two because they're not quite the same material. But you can see how it was built so ruggedly, I think the word I'm looking for. Again, it's got the cold shield on the front.
That's how you regulate the engine temperature, and on this one it's got the calorimeter, they call it, on the top of the radiator, so when that's getting warm you can actually start to see that come, and it does work. See where the white section,
Well, yeah, fantastic.
Where the white section is, get your camera to, yeah, there it goes. That's where you need the engine running.
Okay.
And depending on how cold it is outside, what you're doing with it, how hard you're working it, you'll open up that radiator blind accordingly just to keep the engine in the correct temperature.
Now we're having a day here today. It's been off the peg sort of thing, and I've just shot round. I rang you the other day. Can I come round? And you said, yeah, of course, Rob. But I'd love to come back and we'd have these out in the field. I know I'll keep on at you, Rob. But just to see these things moving,
we'll take
start it up,
fire it up, and
it'll be a video for the future. We can all look forward to. Like.
I don't mind doing that.
Fantastic. So what are we putting in there, Rob?
Just the starting petrol. You super only, doesn't corrode the dissimilar metals and the softer parts of the fuel system. So expensive E5 stuff.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, just to get the engine going and warmed up, and then we'll swap them over onto TVO.
Okay. So we've mentioned this before, but mention it again to me. It's the Fordson standard tracked version. Yep. Yeah,
it's a 1941 Fordson Standard N roadless. So Fordson down the middle, effectively, and then roadless track conversion for the tracks and the steering system and everything else that makes it work.
Fantastic.
Based on an industrial tractor, that's why you've got the headlights and the bits and pieces.
Love the headlights, they're sort of wartime headlights sort of thing, aren't they? Or?
They are, the Butler back ends and then Butler wartime front, wartime ones, so you can have them at the moment. They're set up for use as a normal headlight, but these ones, they flip down inside. You've got this part, covers that, and then you've got the slit then, which is the only bit that lights up, and then you've got the cowl over the top, so you can can't be seen from above.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
And the light on the back lights a little white patch on the back, so you can just very dimly see it. But yeah, so at the moment though they work as normal headlights. Yeah, they're quite nice big conversions like that.
As I say, we've seen the video already with the description, so it'd be great to see it started on this video as well. So, what's the starting procedures then, Rob?
So you see me do the petrol. Let's go over enough of that to get the engine warm enough to go onto TVO. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn on the fuel system the petrol into the float bowl on the other side. So we're going to do a bit of side by side at the moment. So that'll be going through. It doesn't go into the filter here. Sedimenter, that's only the TVO goes through that, so petrol is flowing directly through and to that side.
So you haven't got to drain that out when you switch at the end of the day, when you have to turn it off?
When I shut it down, I shut the kerosene off and then put the petrol back on. And then it flushes it all through, so the next start is a bit easier. That's the theory behind it. It'll fart and pop and bang a little bit because it's going on the petrol when it's going through the vaporizer. It doesn't really like it very much, but you're only turning it off. So if it cuts out, it doesn't matter. It's just clearing the system through.
We're going to start it now, take it into the field and film you, but obviously we're going to put the drone up later. And follow you around with the drone as well, which would be fantastic.
Cool. So I'm just setting the throttle now because it's easier to do it from this side.
Right.
And the choke, pulling it out so the throttle's open a bit. Notched in, and the ignition is in the start retarded position, so it sparks now on top dead centre.
Yeah.
So
this is what you explained last time about this advancing and retarding an engine.
Yeah, so it doesn't kick back at you or anything like that.
Okay.
Also make sure it's out of gear because I don't particularly want to be run over by it.
Yeah.
Let me put something by that door to stop it from... An old trusty Fordson hitch.
Perfect.
That'll stop it. Rad blinds up because we want him to warm up.
Yep.
I'm just going to check the radiator, make sure I've got enough water in it. Should have. I only run it the other day. Yeah. Next thing to do is to bleed any of the waste fuel that's come through out of the carb bowl here, just so I know there's petrol in there, not TVO, because it will not like starting on that.
Does it run all right on TVO?
Yeah.
My old Ferguson runs better on TVO.
It does. Well, they're designed to run on it because they're lower compression engines and they're designed to run on that. So the specific cylinder head that this one's got in it, there's quite a few different cylinder heads they did for different types of fuels and all the rest of it. But yeah, this is set up for running on TVO. So that's basically it now. So ignition is on. And we're going to do
out of gear, and obviously.
Yeah. And then start turning, and choke's fully on at the moment. When it fires, you hear it fire a couple of times with the choke, and then what I do is put it to half choke again, and that should be enough for it to kick into life. And as soon as it fires, turn the choke completely off, and it'll sit here and
chug away.
Yeah, start running. So.
Right.
You ready?
Yeah, go for it, Rob. Probably been sick.
Yeah, it's not run for a little while, so yeah, sometimes you get a little bit of kerosene up in, TVO, and it sucks that through. You have to just wait until it clears, a bit of extra petrol through, and eventually it'll catch and go.
Yeah, but I mean, let's face it, a modern car, sometimes you have to turn it on for about 10 minutes before it actually
Oh
goes.
yeah, I mean, I haven't run that for probably about 2 or 3 months, so, you know, in the grand scheme of things, yeah.
It's so impressive when you took it out of there, I was blown away. And you're getting, I've been looking at crawlers since we've done our last video, like, you know what I mean? So, once we'll have it in the field in a minute and we can have a little try.
Warm it up and then get it onto TVO, and then we'll give it a little drive around.
Fantastic.
bit over.
Oh, you're filling the bowl up there,
Yeah,
yeah?
you can see it coming through. So I cleaned that out the other day, so there's a filter in there as well.
Oh, yeah. See, it's definitely got a different ring to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, now it smooths out.
Yeah.
It doesn't like petrol.
It don't like the... It's definitely more of... Yeah.
Ready to go.
Well, Rob, thanks for the display. Absolutely wonderful piece of kit. And you must be proud about getting such a piece of kit as well.
Yeah, it's a good bit of history, all different, got tracks, Fordson, so yeah, it's a little bit different.
And I understand your daughter likes driving it as well.
Yeah, the youngest one will just get on this and she'll go. She'll go off and just drive on her own. The older ones, she will do it, Daisy, she's a little bit more hesitant. Not quite got the confidence, but they both get on most of the machines that drive them. The only limiting factor is they're not big enough to swing them over now, you know, yet. And to be honest, if it hits, I don't want to get in hurt, so I'll start them. It's got electric start, they're off.
What about the wife? She don't mind grabbing all these toys? No. They're chasing dirty women, isn't it?
Yeah, that or spending it down the pub. So
well done, Rob.
yeah.
I appreciate you giving us your time.
More than welcome. More than welcome.
Now, as you've seen, old Rob driving that. I hope you like this video. It's been a great time with Rob today. I've still got more to do. But if you like this video, I've said before, give it a thumbs up for me. It'd do me the greatest favour in the world if you could do that for me. And if you haven't already, think about subscribing. It doesn't cost you a penny. Nothing costs you money. It costs me money. So do me a favour and hit that subscribe button. Anyway, let's see him go, shall we? See you later.